So, Mr. Perl is a very successful entrepreneur from New York. And in 1985, he founded a firm, Entrepreneur Incorporated. His main business is produce electronics components. And now he has business all over the world, like in Hong Kong, mainland China, and Mexico, and so on. So he focuses on business plans, business development, and also creative marketing plans. Today he's going to give you two topics. The first one is the growth of an entrepreneur. From this one, you see from the title, I hope you can invest from failures, not from success, and also for those one who want to have your own business in the future. I think you will get some inspiration. And for the second one, how to get a good job in tough time, you're going to have some tips, tricks for how to approach a job interview and what you should prepare for the interview. Also, how you can follow up with this interview. So now, I give the stage to Mr. Perl.
Thank you, Jane. Guten Tag, bienvenue. And I tell you, before I start off, because we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship thinking there, I want to show how Jane was very entrepreneurial and how we met that I'm here today. And this came about, I was in a small museum in Zurich, and this was a museum of clocks and watches that was in the basement of a big jewelry store. And it's a store that has been in the family for 7 generations, 350 years, and it was their personal collection. And it turned out that my cousin, who lives in Zurich, was the person that trained the curator of this museum. And I was standing next to her down there, and we were talking, and she was showing me a pagoda clock, a clock in the form of a pagoda, a Chinese pagoda. And she was telling the history of this. And Jane happened to be standing near me, and she chimed in with more history about this Chinese clock. And I turned to her, and we started talking. And as I always do, when I meet people in foreign countries, I say, "Where are you from?" Expecting her to say Beijing or Shanghai or Shenzhen or something like that. And she turned to me and she says, "I'm from Vienna." And I said, "You don't look Viennese." And then she told me that she's teaching here and they give courses on entrepreneurship. And I told her that one of the things that I do back in America is there is a group called Junior Achievement. Junior Achievement is very much like Virtual Enterprise, where they do this internationally, where they teach high school students about business. And you actually get to do some of these things. And I talk about these things about entrepreneurship, and I give a little bit of history of what it was like when I was in Junior Achievement when I was about 16 or 17 years old, about 4 years ago. So that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit here, and I'm going to give you plenty of chances to ask questions, and I'll be happy to give you some answers to the best of my ability. When I talk about entrepreneurship, in a way, the teaching of entrepreneurship is almost an oxymoron. It's not easy to learn entrepreneurship from a textbook. Sometimes it's things that are driven within you to do the things, to make the sale, to make the things happen. And during my theme has always been, and if you check the history of any entrepreneurs, whether it's Bill Gates or any of the other people that started companies, and you get into it, they have had many, many, many more failures than success. And that's what you always have to keep in mind. And also, you learn nothing from success. You really only learn from your failures. The way I got got started, being at about 16 or 17 years old in high school, their junior achievement came. They came to my school in Brooklyn, New York, and they talked about learning business by doing business. You can actually form a company, and we did. There was a group of us, about 10 teenagers, that formed a company. We sold stock in the company. We made a product, and then we had to go out and sell it there. And we had an advisor, and the advisors, the business advisors that helped us, were people from American Machine and Foundry Company. If any of you ever go bowling, they're the people that make the pin spotters, the automatic pin spotters for bowling there. And they would come, we would meet once a week, and we would do these things of learning business by doing business. It was a real hands-on experience. One of our first products was a no-spill tray. You could actually carry it, and one of our demonstrations that we used to do is centrifugal force, was actually taking the tray, putting a glass of water, going around like this and hoping that it didn't fall off, and it really never did. And we would show how you could now carry a group of glasses and you could, without spilling anything. And that was really what our first product was. And this is actually me, about age 16 or 17 back then, again, 3 or 4 years ago. So that's how we started this thing. That's how I started to learn business, by doing this there. We were very fortunate. We were a successful group there. We were selling our products. I was going out to the department stores, whether it was Macy's or Gimbel's or Saks Fifth Avenue in New York, and we actually were selling these things. And I think a little bit, when I think back on it, I think it was a little bit that when a young fellow would walk in with an order book and a sample, it was a little bit more out of pity than the actual product itself. But we made the sales. We made the things happen. And we were very fortunate. We were featured on television there. And again, that's me second from the right a couple of years ago. Yeah. I became a spokesman for Junior Achievement. I appeared on NBC Radio. That's the thing they had before television. And I used to talk about these things, about how we did this and how we built these products and how the learning experiences were. And you actually started the company in September at the beginning of the school semester, and you ended it in June at the end of the school semester. And then whatever profits were left, it was divided among the members and the stockholders. And I think at the end of this period of time, I made about $27 US there. But more important was the thing of learning what to do. So how did I really get started as an entrepreneur? How did the entrepreneurial thinking start? After I went to New York University, the Stern School of Business, and after I graduated from that, I was able to, I had 3 jobs, each one lasting 2 years, and I was learning things there. And I got a phone call from a friend of mine who was helping his father in his music store. His father had a music store. And he called me up, and this is about 1966. And at that time, in 1966, the Beatles had just come out. The music business was going through the roof. Everyone knew the success of the Beatles, and what they wanted to do was to have the chance to play the guitar and become an overnight sensation, have the girls chase you and make $1 million. Yeah. So he told me that he had just gotten in a shipment of congas, bongos, maracas, all these Mexican items, and the wholesale, the gross handler, had left the label on the carton that gave the name of the factory in Mexico. So we looked up, there was no internet, we looked up the label, we wrote a letter. We had to write a letter. There was no fax, there was no internet. We wrote a letter to the guy, we got his catalog, we sent him an order, and we put together $1,000 each, US dollars, $1,000, and what we did was send him an order for $2,000. And about 8 weeks later, I got a phone call. He said, come down, the truck has just pulled up with all the things we ordered. Bongos, congas, maracas, castanets, all these things. And we went out We were peddlers. We went out as salesmen. And we went to the music stores, and we filled our cars with the merchandise. We went out, and within 1 week, remember, this was the boom time for the music business. In 1 week, everything was sold. Our investment of $2,000 US became $4,000 in 1 week, which is equivalent in today's dollars. We're looking at $12,000, became $24,000. And I said to myself, this is much, because I was earning only about $125 a week then. I said, this looks like we'll go into business. And that's how I made the decision. I went into business. I got married, went into business the same month. And we started out by working in his store, in the basement of this store in Harlem, in Manhattan there. We started by going out, knocking on the doors, making sales. We would go out Monday to Thursday, and we would take orders on product there. We would sell things of guitar straps, harmonicas, pitch pipes, guitar strings, drums, anything in the music business, we would be selling there. But we didn't have a lot of money, so we had no inventory. So what did we do? We would work Monday to Thursday, go out selling. On Friday, on Thursday night, we would come, we would compile all the orders, and then on Friday, I would run around to the other wholesalers and the importers, and I would buy what we sold. And Saturday and Sunday, we would work packing the orders. We sold it first, we bought it later. We reduced our risk there. And then we started to grow. And if those of you, how many people play the guitar here? Anyone play the guitar? I guess you all listen to it. Well, anyway, there's a famous guitar called Gibson. It's a major manufacturer there, and we wanted to get the line of the Gibson strings. And in order to get this, we had to qualify ourselves as an upcoming grosshandler, a wholesaler, and which was not so easy in those days because we really had no big inventory. Our warehouse was about from here to the window. That was all it was. And our shelves were empty because what we would do was we would sell things, we'd go buy it. And the guy from Gibson says, okay, I want to visit your premises. I want to see what you're doing. So what I did was, the night before, I went to the supermarket. I got a lot of empty boxes. I took the empty boxes, and we filled all the shelves with empty boxes. On the outside of the boxes, we wrote 120 pieces Hona harmonicas, 42 dozen of the strings there. We put 72 pieces of pitch pipes, of drumsticks. Everything looked from the floor to the ceiling that our inventory was full. So he came in, and I saw him looking around to see, looks, these guys have a good inventory. And I had him sit down, and as soon as he sat down, the phone rang. Why did the phone ring? Anyone know why the phone rang? What was he also looking for if we were making sales? Okay? I say, Shulligan, one moment please. I pick up the phone. I say, oh yes, oh, excuse me 1 minute. And I start writing, okay, you want a dozen harmonicas, and you want 42 drumsticks, and you want this and that. Oh, thank you, Duncan. And I hang up the phone. And we talk a few more minutes. The phone rings again. I said, excuse me. I pick up the phone. And I said, oh, okay, excuse me. Oh, you want 3 drum sets, 4 guitars, da, da, da. I write it down like that. And do you know who was at the other end of the phone? That young lady back there, my wife of 45 years, was calling me, and she was saying, how's it going? How's it going? What I'm showing you is always be one step ahead, see how you can do the things to make it happen there. One of the things that is very important as an entrepreneur, you have to be smart, you have to be resourceful, you have to be hardworking, but you also have to be lucky. That's a very important thing. I mean, in your life here too, you have to be lucky with what happens there. But it's not just luck. Luck happens, but what you do with the luck determines the next steps. I was at a wedding on a Sunday night. Sitting next to me is a guy, very elegantly dressed man, and we get into a conversation. And I find out he's the executive vice president of Columbia CBS Records. CBS Records, Columbia Records, and for those of you that remember, a record is a round thing with a hole in it that played with a needle there. Columbia Records was the biggest seller of music, recorded music. They had 300 salespeople. They had 15 warehouses all over. They had international places too. They were huge. And we started talking, and I said to him, you know, in the conversation, I said to him, you know, I have an idea for you. We could provide you with a full line of musical instrument accessories to be sold in record stores, in the record shops, because no one was focusing on the record shops. The same customers that go to the music stores actually are the same kids that go to buy the records. He says, that's a good idea. Can you come and see me at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning? Now, there was no PowerPoint, there was nothing there, so I came the next morning with my partner with a yellow pad of paper with my ideas sketched out on it. And what we did was we showed him this concept of taking the accessories and packaging them all together in one package on a revolving stand there. And they did the test of this thing. They tested it in 2 cities, and we scraped together the money to do this. And one of the things that happened before the test came is it was our first experience of importing. And at that time, in this 1969, 1970, China did not really exist as a manufacturing country. It was Japan. That was where the product was coming from at that time. And they had no experience on importing. And we found out from some connections I had made where to buy the product. But one of the things we never did, we didn't know enough to ask for a proof of the packaging. I had designed a box with beautiful gold ink and a see-through window on it, and I never thought of asking for a proof of what the box was going to look like. The shipment came in. It was a disaster. Gold ink turns out to be a horrible thing to print with because it comes off. We took out the boxes. All of a sudden, look at my shirt. I'm full of gold ink. What was worse, you see the word Columbia, which is their name? The Japanese spelled it C-U-L instead of C-O-L. That was there was no way we could use these things. So we had to think of something, and what I did was I went out to to some of the department stores, to the cosmetic areas, because in cosmetics, they're the leading edge of packaging. And I saw that they were using vinyl bags instead of poly bags. Poly bags get cloudy, they look cheap. Vinyl bags, when you put some piece of merchandise in it, they were using this for brushes and lipsticks and things, it pops, it makes it look good. So that's what we did. We took these, and all this merchandise got packaged in these things. And I actually had a packaging party at my house by inviting a bunch of friends. Of course, we had no money left for the labor. And I invited these friends for hot dogs and things, and then they found out that they had to do packaging. So now they came back to us, and they said, okay, the test orders was very successful. And here we're going to give you our new purchase order. And they hand me a purchase order for $500,000 US dollars. In today's dollars, it's 1.8 million. All we had in the bank was $8,000. So, we need money. We have to finance it. Where do you go for money? Where do you go for money? Huh? To the bank. And what do the bankers say to you when you ask for money? What's their favorite word? No. You're right. They say no. They say, yes, we'll give you the money, but you have to give me a Picasso, you have to give me another bank account, you have to give me your firstborn, and they're very famous for saying that. So, I said, after going to my bank, I went to 10 other banks. Got the same answer. I went back to the guy I met at the wedding, and I said to him, Stan, we can't finance this. And I said, I can't do it. He said, what's the name of your bank? And I told him at that time it was Manufacturers Hanover. Which became Chemical, which became Chase, which became JP Morgan Chase. Anyway, he tells the secretary to get my bank on the phone, and he says to the guy, he asked me the name of the guy there, and it was Richard. And he said, Richard, I have Chuck Perl and his partner here. They need $300,000. I'll give you CBS's guarantee for 50% of what you loan them. But you have to tell me now while I'm on the phone with you. Otherwise, I'm going to take them downstairs to Citibank, your competitor, and I'm going to arrange the financing there. And then I hear him say to the bank, I know we will not give you 100% guarantee, only 50%. But tell me now, or I take them down to the other bank. Oh, send them over with the guarantee and you'll give them the money? Okay. He typed up the guarantee on CBS stationery. He signed it. I went to the bank put $300,000 in my account. And that's how we got the financing. I said to him, Stan, why didn't you guarantee 100% for you? For CBS, you know, $300,000 means nothing. He says, because if I guarantee 100%, you don't establish the credit. I guarantee half of it, then you're on the risk for the bank. You show them that you can pay back on time, and then you'll get all the money that you want. And he was very smart, and it proved to be very true, because the banks did work with us after that. So then what we did was this. When you have channels of distribution, you want to add. You want to add selling the same products in distribution channels. Remember, CBS Records, Columbia Records, they were huge in the record business. If you're selling records, what are they selling? They're selling record players. So we came out with the first headphones. As you can see here, these headphones were the stereo headphones that would plug into the record players at that time. And we used to bring these in by the 40-foot container loads, huge container loads of these, that then they would send out for distribution. Yeah. Talking about failure, one of the things that was part of the first order, this big order for $500,000, was 100,000 guitar straps. I had arranged for someone to manufacture the guitar straps there. And what happened was, when it came time to do it, they were actually manufacturers in Puerto Rico of wallets. And they had gotten some huge orders, and they didn't have the capacity to make it for me anymore. So, have a failure, you have to make it a success. You have to solve the problem. I went out, I bought 2 sewing machines, I bought 2 riveting machines, I hired a couple of people that knew how to sew, that knew how to rivet, and we became a manufacturer of guitar straps. But we filled the order, we solved the problems. We learned from this and how to do the manufacturing. We learned from the people that we hired there to do this. And we eventually became the world's largest manufacturer of guitar straps and camera straps, selling to over 75 countries. We had over 300 people working in a factory in New York. And remember, this is before China was doing what they're doing here. So, what else do you do as an entrepreneur? You want to leverage your existing resources. We had a manufacturing facility. We had grown from nothing to 300 people using machines. You want to use the same machines, the same materials. So what did we do? The first product we diversified into was camera straps. Yeah. We had them making camera straps. The second thing was, this is going back into the 1970s. At that time, one of the hottest fashions was this jacquard braiding. This thing was being worn on jeans. That was the hottest fashion. And we went into the belt business. Different area. And the third thing, which was a huge success for us, there was the advent of what they call the boom boxes, which were these heavy machines, these big machines. We used to call it the ghetto blasters, or the boom box. They would come and people would carry it like this. So we made the straps for that, which eventually brought us into another industry that I will tell you about. Talking about the belt business there, again, it's seizing the opportunities here. My partner brought back this part here, which looked like a chain of machine gun bullets, M1 bullets used in the M1 rifle there. This was during the Vietnam War. He had gone to London, he came back, he said, this is a very big seller in London now. It's a big fashion statement there. And I thought it was a pretty dumb idea. But I learned something, tried it. So we started to get these. And I would call up a few places of rifle ranges and where they manufactured these shells. And we started to produce this. And all of a sudden, it became the hottest fashion rage. It was the statement that a lot of the young people were making against the Vietnam War at that time by wearing these things there. And the sales just started to boom. I had to put on extra locations. I ran night shifts. We were running 24 hours a day. It was an assembly type of operation there. And then all of a sudden, I get a phone call. And this guy, I still remember his name, James Ryan. He says, "This is James Ryan, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms of the Treasury Department. Do you have a license for selling these gun belts?" I said, "Yeah, I'm making belts." He says, "These cartridges can be refilled and used in machine guns. Therefore, you need a license for this, because what you're doing is illegal. Do you want us to come to see you, or do you want to come to see us?" I said, "I'll come to see you." So we went down to the Federal Bureau there, and then what happened, they were very nice to me. They said, "You have to stop your production, you can't sell these anymore." And I said to them, "How could we do something here to make it legal?" Well, he says, "A simple answer would be drill a hole in the side of the bullet. All we needed to do was take a drill press and drill a hole right there in the side of the bullet. And then it cannot be used anymore, because if anyone tries to put the gunpowder in, they won't operate, can't operate." I said, "Oh, okay, thank you very much." I went back to the office, I went outside, I went to Sears Roebuck, and I bought 8 power drills. And we set up lines. And we had the bullets coming down on a conveyor, and it would come here, and people would stand there 24 hours a day, putting one hole in each cartridge as we go along. When we built up enough inventory in about 3 or 4 days, I called a paper in New York that was called Women's Wear Daily. Women's Wear Daily is the fashion newspaper of the fashion world. And I got the editor on the phone, and I said to her, "By the way, I found where they're making these things. The bullet belts that are out there now are all illegal. And here's the name of James Ryan, the Federal Bureau. You can call him, he'll confirm everything. But we are now making the ones that he said are legal. It's okay." So obviously she did call. The next day I went out and I picked up the copy of this paper that was all over the United States. And the headline of this, "Bullet belts are illegal." What happens to the consumer when you announce that something is illegal? What happens? Everyone wants it. The sales, which were good before, were now 100. There was no way we could keep up with the orders. Once it became illegal and they announced it, there was no way we could keep up with it. And it also, in the article, told them that Ambico, which was the name of my company then, was able to do this and produce it so that it became legal. And in the fashion business, what you have to be careful about is that when you start to see it die down, remember in the fashion business, what happens is sales can go like this and stay like this for a while, and then when the trend is over, the sales go not like this, they go like this, then it's over. And we were able to stop that when it was coming through, and then we started because we were on to other things. How did we design other belts? How did we do this? And how, you know, you can, we had a couple of designers working for us there, and they would come and they would make designs and they would make samples. So, and I would look at these things and I would think to myself, well, how do we know which are going to sell, which are not going to sell? And I'll tell you a very simple thing we did. At night, after the workers in the factory would go home, they had a lunch area. We would take about 10 of the new samples, the different styles, and we would put it on the dish, on the table here. And then we'd walk away. And the next morning, I would come in around 10 o'clock, and I would go over to the table, and I would look. And of the 10 samples that were there, maybe 3, 4, or 5 were left. The others the people had stolen. So what we did was, that was our market research. The ones that were still there, we threw in the garbage. The ones that were stolen, those were the good ones, because that's the ones that people wanted. That's the ones we put in production. And it was amazing, that simple market research thing, we didn't need much more than that. It worked, and it really told us what was going on. Here's another thing you do when you come out with product lines. You want to establish a competitive advantage to yourself. So how do you make things better? What we did was, in the camera straps, there's something called film. Anyone remember film? What this is, we put an elastic band around the other side. The cartridges holding the film could hold those canisters. In the guitar straps, we put a slot in the leather here, and we put in a guitar pick. The guitar pick cost us less than 1 cent, but it increased the sales there. So these are the kind of things that we started to do. We did private labeling. This is a strap that we made for Kodak. They bought these by the $500,000 at a time, because what they were getting from it was they were selling this at their cost there, and in order to get it, they had to send in a check for $2.50 and a box top of Kodak film. But then they have all these people, hundreds of thousands of people walking around with the Kodak name on it there. And we went on to make private label straps for Fender, for Gibson, and many others in the guitar business and in the camera business, whether it was Fuji, Canon, Kodak, Polaroid, Nikon, we made all their things. In addition, because we were already selling in the music industry, we took on a line of cymbals for drummers. You have a band, you're going to do a band, you have guitar players, you have drummers. So we started to make this because they're the same channels of distribution there. We went on to find this manufacturer in Germany. We made it under our brand name Canva, and we sold these, and we came up with the idea of pre-packs. They were able to buy these in a pre-package of 3 cymbals there. One of the failures that we had was we decided, okay, we're selling so many cymbals, let's sell drumsticks. It was the worst mistake we ever made. We had to use wood. Hickory wood is what's used in drumsticks. And when you're using something like wood, it's an alive product even after it's cut. And if you don't know what you're doing with this stuff, if you don't have some expertise, and we were manufacturing this right in New York, and we really should have been down south in the hickory areas where the hickory is grown. It was just a terrible disaster, a big money loser. And sometimes when you have these things, I just decided to close the door on the drumstick factory and go on to something else. So another thing we did, because we were selling the camera straps, we started to manufacture filters. So we did all the filter systems that we use through the same channels of distribution. The one that you saw before, of the boombox, we went to an electronics show, the Consumer Electronics Show, there where we showed that. And that's how we started to get into the video business. The video cameras had just come out. And if you look back there, what's being recorded now is like the size of a large book of matches. At those times, the video cameras were huge. We would also make the batteries that went with these. The batteries weighed 10 kilos. think about this. You had a strap for that, and you ended up like this, because that's what powered your camera and your light. But again, this was the very beginning of this, and we focused on the accessories there. Around in the mid-70s to late 70s, China came on the market in their manufacturing abilities, and they started to kill us on prices there because they could produce something and sell it at less than what it cost us to produce in the United States. So sometimes you also have to know when to exit, and that's what we did. We saw this, we saw the handwriting on the wall, and we actually, this is from the auction, we sold off all our things. Our strength was sales, and the sales and marketing. And we said, okay, we're going to focus on the video industry, and then we just closed that, the manufacturing that we had too. So, in 1985, I had been with my partner for about 20 years, and I decided to go into some new directions. I sold him the video business, and I started a new company called Outfront Incorporated. And at that time, we were still doing some of the symbol work and things like that. But I also had a good friend of mine that lived in Sweden, and he had just sold his company, and he joined a group called Skånegruppen, which was out of Malmo. And this was a Swedish conglomerate, which the big asset that they had at the time was they were the boat builders. I think they were in business for 10,000 years. They probably made the boats for the Vikings and things like that. But now what they were doing was they were manufacturing the big oil ships, the big oil carriers. And at that time, there was a period of time where the oil business had gone way down. There was an oversupply of this. But this company had was money. And they also had a lot of the old Swedish money stockholders. And with the Swedes there, they had such a background. They were able to print stock, to make stock, and they got a lot of investment money. And what we did was we would go to visit companies and doing merger and acquisitions in the 80s. And in the 1980s, that was the big thing, of merger and acquisitions. And my role there with this group was I would go out, I would go visit a company that we might want to be looking to acquire. And the first day I would come with my suit and my tie, listen to the board of directors and everything, and they would tell you about their company and about sales. And if you're ever looking to buy a company, no one ever tells you about the problems of the company. What they tell you about is sales. You know, they give you the chart. The sales are going through the roof. The profits are going even higher. You know, and so you always think to yourself, if things are so great, why do they want to sell? So you have to really find out. So the second day, what I would do is I would come there in jeans and no tie, no jacket or anything like that. I would say that, you know, today I don't have to be with you. I'd like to go into your warehouse. I'd like to go into your, I just want to walk around, talk with the people. No, you don't have to come with me. And then I would go into the operations, and I could smell what was going on. You could look around. You could see their inventory. Sometimes I would take my fingers and see how deep the dust was on the inventory to know if it's turning, if it's moving. I would ask people, you know, how's business? How's it going? And it's amazing when you ask the right questions what the people will tell you. And so that gave me a great idea about, you know, buying and selling, of doing things, of adding companies there. And then I entered the electronic market, where we became a buyer and seller of electronic components. And we're doing this now. Our three main customers are Cisco, Motorola, and Emerson. And we buy and sell electronic components, the semiconductors, the things that make the world go round. And we had a lot of experience in China. We were one of the first companies over to China about 35 years ago when Nixon first opened it up. And at that time, it was the Canton Fair. And there was no capitalism in China. You only dealt with the government. And there were some really interesting things. And one of the talks that I'll come back one time and do is going to be the dynamics of doing business in China, because it's a whole area in itself. It's a huge market, and it's a huge thing to learn from. The Chinese people are very, very smart, very, very hardworking. All their children go to school 6 days a week. All their children are learning English. Every child in China is learning English. They learn math and science. In the Western countries, in Europe and in America, Canada, how many of our kids are learning Mandarin or Cantonese? Mandarin especially. How many are learning Mandarin? And the economy of China, I will tell you, within 5 to 8 years will be the #1 powerhouse in the entire world. Definitely, definitely. Another thing that happened is that I've now formed a new company called Radius Alliance. And what Radius Alliance is doing is I have a partner in this whose father is a very wealthy guy in the venture capital business. And I've put together an international advisory board of my 45 years in business all over, where I've actually, my network is out there. And in this network, I have, I think, about 4 of the 100 smartest people in the world. These are some medical, scientific people, physicists, people that are the world's expert on alternate energy, and things like that. We're working on, and what we do is we look to bring new products and services to market. And just to give you a little bit of, I'll give you 2 things that we're working on now that are just interesting there. One of them, every one of you has cell phones, right? And one of the big problems with cell phones, let's say you're outside and it's windy, okay? The other person says, huh, what? I didn't hear you, right? Or, let's say you're on a conference call and you're working from home and all of a sudden the dog starts barking. Or your boyfriend or girlfriend says, can you take out the garbage? Or whatever. We're working on a system now that will only identify the speaker's voice, block out all other sounds, so that you can tell your boss, I'm working in the office now, but you can be on the beach with the waves crashing and the seagulls honking, and no one will know the difference. And why do we have a good chance of doing this? How many of you watched the World Cup, the soccer World Cup? Huh? Okay, remember, what was the biggest problem that the broadcasters had with that World Cup broadcasting? Huh? The what? The horns, the zuzuladas. Okay? So one of the people on my board is from France. He has a group of sound engineers that are some of the best in the world. They were hired by the broadcasters, and they were the ones that filtered out that background noise. So if you can remember the beginning of those broadcasts, you couldn't hear anything, and then you could just hear the guy speak. So this is the technology that we're going to bring in. A second thing, and we're working on many different projects now. The second thing is we're working on some things for alternate energy. I don't know, does anyone know what biochar, B-I-O-C-H-A-R, biochar is? Biochar is the use of animal waste. One of the big problems that the world is facing now is that we're losing our farmers. Okay? None of you, if any of you have parents, uncles, aunts, grandparents who are farmers, how many of you want to be a farmer and wake up at 4 in the morning till work till 9 at night and do all this? Okay, raise your hands, anyone who wants to be a farmer. Okay, there's your answer. We're losing the farmers. And the farmers, as they're dying and retiring, have farms where they have 200 pigs and 100 horses and 50 cows, and these are in 500 acres or 500 hectares. Okay? They die, they retire. The children sell the farm to the big conglomerates. They move the animals. They're no longer on 500 hectares, they're on 25 hectares. And what do animals do? Animals poop. And all that waste goes into the ground. It's polluting the water, and they just don't know what to do with it there. And what we're working on now is we're actually working, and we're very close to this now, of being able to take the animal waste to turn into pellets that can be sold to the electric companies to use instead of oil. So we're accomplishing two things. We're getting rid of the waste, and we're doing a huge thing for the environment. And also what is happening now with the electric companies is that the governments are mandating that you must have a certain percentage of alternate fuel, even if it costs the electric companies more. So that's going to help a while, and as we're doing this, we're getting into we're getting very close to the point as the oil prices are going up and the cost of this biocar is coming about, we're improving the processing. So, I mean, just as an aside, when I was approached by the expert on this, who's on my advisory board, I said to myself, this might be an interesting idea. In my lifetime as an entrepreneur, I have had a lot of ideas where I've taken money and it has become shice. Now, I said, oh, this is interesting. I can now take shice and turn it into money. It must be easy to do. So I'm just giving you an idea, again, of the entrepreneurial thinking on that. Okay, so I'm just going to sum up here really quickly here. Be opportunity. If you want to be an entrepreneur, and maybe some of you prefer to work, in a job, you want to 9 to 5 and leave. Just remember, if you're an entrepreneur, you work 24 hours, 7 days a week. Your mind is always going there. Don't be afraid to take prudent risk. You don't have to jump off the cliff, but be willing to take a risk to make something happen. Okay? You watch for the opportunities. There are lots of opportunities. The opportunities might fall in your lap, but you have to do something with them. You have to make it happen. There. Again, going back to luck, the luck can happen with a meeting, with an idea, with a conference with other people, but again, you have to make it happen. The use of your network is very, very important. We're going to talk a lot about this in my second talk. Networking is very, very vital here. There. Business plans. Now, the teachers here are not going to be happy with what I'm going to say here. Business plans are wonderful for the teachers, for the professors, for the bankers when you want to borrow money, for the venture investors, for the lawyers and the accountants. I don't like business plans when you're an entrepreneur because they put you in a box. And I find too many people, they make a business plan and that's it, and that's where they are, and they don't go out to think outside that box. So if you're going to do a business plan, do it, but don't have to live by it, because the successes will come of doing something else. Another thing, in life, in business, you'll find when you want to get into, if you have an idea to sell, if you have something like that, and you want to contact a company, all right? What you want to do is remember that all organizations, whether it's school or business, there are two departments. There's the no department, and there's the yes department. Who are the no departments? Legal is a no department. Finance is a no department. You want a job? I want a job. Human resources says no. Engineering, I have a new idea. No. Okay? Purchasing, here, buy my product. They say no. Those are the no departments, and on and on. That's typical in business. What's the yes department? There's one yes department, marketing and sales. Marketing and sales, they're always looking for the things to increase the business. That's the door that you go to. Whether you have a new product, whether you want to get a job, we're going to talk about that, is if you have any concepts of anything, find out who the people are in marketing and sales and go to them. And if you can do some of these things, and by the way, if any of you have any ideas you want to submit, my business cards will become available. Have any of you been to New York? Any of you been to New York? Huh? Okay. Well, anyway, this is my home office in New York, and the thing in the background is Central Park. And if any of you come to New York, please do call me, and I do a great tour of the history and highlights of New York, and I'll be happy to take you around. So I'm not going to ask to take a break or anything like this. I want to go right into my next thing, but let me take 5 minutes on this. If any of you, and don't be shy, have any questions, talk up, and then I will start my other talk within 5 minutes and come back during more lead time for questions to answer. You have a question, I can see. So again, take risk. Don't be...
Go in this direction, there was a big failure. For example, the drumsticks, but at the beginning, you know, like at the beginning, so everybody wants to start a business, but when you're at the beginning, like, there's big problems. What was a very important failure you made there? So you went into another direction and didn't right. Yeah.
Well, again, the thing was we became solid enough that we were in multiple directions. So, you know, sometimes if you fail in something, what people sometimes make the mistake is they think, oh, I had a failure. The drumstick factory is, the losses are tremendous. We can't capture the market or anything like that. So in life, when you get out of bed in the morning, when you put your feet on the floor, you are given a certain amount of energy to use. That's my philosophy. How you use that energy in that 24-hour period is up to one person, is up to yourself. So I can take that 24-hour period and figure out how, oh, I failed at this, and this is embarrassing. Okay, let me solve this thing. I know people that have failed at things 20 years ago, and they're still working to solve it because it's become a mission for them. That's the worst way to go. If something fails, sometimes it's better to walk away from it, leave it behind you, don't put energy into it, and find a new direction. And sometimes that helps, because when we failed in that, I took that energy, the money we were put into something else, which was the video accessories, and it became very successful. So you have to be able to do that. Yes?
When you went into other directions, when you thought about new businesses, how long did it take you to find a new idea? Did you sit down with a pen and paper and write some math stuff and find out how your sales could be?
No, usually most of the ideas have come by accident. Most of the things come by accident, by happenstance, by travel, and most important, by meeting people and talking to people and having a wide network. I think it's to sit down, you know, at a desk and say, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to sell pens, okay, and this is how I'm going to do it there. It doesn't really happen there. You have to get out. You have to go. First of all, what I would do is I would find out trade shows. Go to the Messe. Go to the Frankfurt Messe. The biggest ones in the world are in Frankfurt. There are messes here. I know you mentioned that you do some music there. So you don't have to go to the music messe, but you can get some ideas there. But maybe you go to the household goods, or to the hotel business fair, or what other publishing thing, or whatever. Go to things that you haven't thought of before, and walk around a trade fair, and you'll look to see, you look where the action is. Look at the booths, the ones that are attracting the people. Look where the interest is. And the other thing to do, if you do this, don't go yourself. Go with somebody else. That's
you could reach. Is it very? Do you start very at the beginning, or do you know when you're ready to find time?
What I've done here is this: I have found that almost without exception, my original forecast of any product is always wrong. It's always wrong. It's either much too high or it's much too low. It's never just right. So, but you have to start somewhere. But you can't obsess about it. If I want to make these pens, and I say, okay, how do I find out? And I do the research, and I find out how many pens are sold in the world, how many in Vienna, and how many blue pens and red pens. You can sit on your computer under Google and do research for 10 years. And then you won't be right. So if you say, I want to make blue pens, and I'm going to sell it with the university name on it there, you sometimes just have to come up with a figure and say, okay, I'm going to sell 20,000 of these, and base your plan upon that. And then you adjust it as you go along. Otherwise, you spend your whole time doing research and nothing happens.
So you trust on your intuition more?
I trust my gut.
Okay.
And if you don't trust your gut, then don't be an entrepreneur. You have to trust your gut, and you have to know that you're going to make mistakes. You're welcome to take notes of my slides on this. I've asked Jane, for those that want it, you can get a printout of some of these talking points that I have, and feel free to steal and use them any way you can. Okay, have a question for you. How many of you have a rich uncle that thinks you're fabulous, that loves you better than anything in the world, and has said to you, sweetheart, I'm sending into your bank account 1,000 euros a week, do whatever you want? Huh?
That would be nice.
Yeah, would be nice. Anybody have a rich uncle like that? What does that mean? If you don't have a rich uncle like that, what does it mean for you guys when you get out of school? Huh? What are you going to have to get? Huh? You're going to have to get a job. Okay. In America, the unemployment rate is 10%. Who knows what the unemployment rate now is in Austria? About 4%. About 4 or 5%. Okay. Very often when I talk to people about getting a job, I hear this. They say to me, oh, the unemployment rate is so high, it's 5%, it's 10%, no one has a job or anything like that. I say, malarkey. Forget focusing on that. Here in America, where it's 10%, remember, 90% of the people are working. That's where you focus. That's where your mindset should be. If you want to get a job in something, very important, pick a field you're interested in. Think of what your dream job. What would you like to do? You want to go into medicine? You want to work in a hospital? Okay. You want to work in the music field? You want to work in engineering? You want to work in supermarkets? Whatever it is, pick something that you want to do. Come to those people with ideas. I'll tell you how I got my first job. I graduated in 1959 from New York University Stern School of Business. I thought I was a great catch. And I went out and I started to go for interviews and everything. And everybody told me the same thing. Oh, you're very nice and everything. You have no experience. Come back when you have experience. And this took me months of listening to this. And I said, oh my gosh, you know what, I can't get in anywhere there. And then I used my network. I had a great uncle that had a contact with a very large shoe store chain called Miles Shoes. They had about 400 shoe stores all over America. And he got me an interview with the president of this company. And before I went for that interview, here's what I did. I went out and I visited the stores. I went out to the stores. I talked to the customers. I talked to the salespeople. I talked to the managers. I came back with a list of 25 ideas that would increase their sales and cut their costs. What are companies looking to do? Two things. They want to increase sales. They want to cut costs because that builds what? Profits. Profits. Yeah. So I went to this interview, and this guy says to me, okay, I can give you 5 minutes. I say, okay, I was very nervous. I said, I have 25 ideas. He says, you do? Tell me what they are. And I gave him the list, and I started going through it. Before I got to number 12, he picked up the phone, and he called in one of his other managers. He says, this guy here, Chuck Perl, I want you to give him a job. Okay? I said, great. And that's how I got my first job. Later on, I found that of the 25 ideas I had given to them, 23 of them were completely wrong, had no meaning for that company. Didn't mean anything to them because I didn't know the inner workings. I didn't know the issues and everything else they had. But what happened was he saw I was thinking. I was coming with ideas. So few people come with ideas to companies. They come for companies, they say, you'd be amazed, I do interviewing all the time. And they say to me, yes, how long is lunch hour? When is my vacation there? And what time, how old do you have to be before you get your pension? Haven't started day one of work. I can tell you stories. Don't go looking for a job. What you want to do, in order to be successful in this, you want to do informational interviewing. Okay? Let's say you want to work in the medical field. You want to work for a hospital. I'm just picking something here. You're going to call one of the hospitals, and you're going to say, you're going to find out the head of nursing or whatever it might be. And follow what I've actually written out here, a script for you. Made it easy for you here. You say, the first thing you say is, I'm not calling about a job. I don't have to deal with that, they say. I'm interested in the field of nursing, and I'd like to ask some questions so I could learn more about this. I'd like to have about 10 minutes of your time. And then you never say to them, can I come and see you? You give them a date. You say, will next Thursday morning be convenient for you at 10 a.m.? And they say, no. What about Friday? Whatever they, eventually, never ask a question that can be answered with a no. Never ask a question that can be answered with a no, because that ends the discussion there. Okay? So you can do this, the second thing here too. I'm doing research on Vienna hospitals, and I would like your insider information about this field. Can I see you on next Friday? Remember, the best things that work is knocking on doors face to face. I'm going to show you how to knock on doors. I'm going to show you how to get in there. Yeah. Give me the name of some hospitals. What are they building over here? They're going to need workers. They're building a hospital, right? Right. What's the name of this hospital? Modern Hospital. Okay, whatever it is. So what's your name? Beatrice. What's the first thing Beatrice should do if she wants to get a job at Modern Hospital? I want one word. It begins with a G. Goo what? Google. Simple. The world is at your doorstep there. Too much information. You can Google. Don't only go by number 1, 2, and 3. Go down the list. Go to page 17. See if somebody has posted something there. Modern Hospital is the worst place in the world to work there, or whatever. Come prepared. Do your research. It's so simple to do now on this here. Don't be afraid when you go there to present the ideas. Come with ideas that you're going to have. All right? Bring those ideas and bring it to the person. Don't be afraid they're going to steal it. So what? If they steal your idea, that's not a place you want to work for anyway. Okay? All right, we're going to do a little experiment. Anyone recognize this? Anyone recognize this? Yes, yes, yes? Okay. Anybody here want to work for them? Good company. Green management. Huh? Anybody here not like this?
I don't like it.
Okay, go to this side of it. Okay. Who would like to work for this company?
Okay, what's your name? Olga? Please come up. Come on. I need a second volunteer with good handwriting. You don't have to talk, you're only going to write. I need one person with good handwriting. Ready? Come on. One person here, no one has good handwriting. I'm going to pick someone. Huh? One person with good handwriting? Do they only type here? No. At management. And in order to get that job, she's going to contact somebody there and come to them with some ideas. Okay? And we'll just brief one or two key words as we're doing this. Okay? So, here, over here, this is your new group of friends. This is your board of advisors. This is your advisory board. And I want you to start by saying to them some famous words. Ready? I always say it very loud. Go ahead. Loud.
I need your help.
Good. Now, why does she need your help? She wants you to help start. Let's get the ball rolling here to think of creative ideas for this group. Okay? I'm going to get it started. Okay? Mr. Sales Manager of management, I've got this idea about we're going to do a promotion of Legos. How many know what Legos are? Everyone know what Legos? You know, to build these things. We're going to use management as a contest. And what we're going to do is we're going to build castles, we're going to build bridges, and there's going to be prizes awarded, and that'll be great publicity for management. Okay? Come on, advisory board. Come on. What else can we do? Come on. Okay, we're going to do flavor of the month. Okay? Banana management, strawberry management. We're not going to announce it until the first of the month, and it comes out in the stores. Go ahead.
I would make a rebranding, make it more modern and closer to the customers.
Okay. Rebranding. Remember, we're not criticizing any idea. No idea is going to be criticized. Because remember, a lot of the ideas that will come out here aren't going to work.
Clothing, t-shirts.
Say it again?
Clothing.
Clothing?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do clothing, branding of clothing, articles to wear.
Offer during holidays because special Valentine's Day.
Holiday specials.
Valentine's Day.
Okay. Holiday specials. Go ahead.
Sponsoring.
What did you say?
Sponsoring of sports. Or
Good.
something.
Good. Sponsoring sport events. Okay, just one or two more.
Producing family packages.
Say it again?
Family packages.
Family packages. We're not worried whether they have this or don't have. We just want to be exercised how you start to think. And if you want to do this, no matter what field you're going into, get a group together. A group like this is too big. Work with 4 or 5 people. And that's called brainstorming. And then you start to get that. Thank you. But you understand, thank you. You understand what I'm talking about is the ideas will come. Don't try and do it yourself. Get a group together. Okay? How do you do this too? The first thing you do, besides looking up and you do Google. The second thing you do, you go to the Mannerschnitten store, right in the walking street here. And you go there and you dress up the men with a nice tie and the girls with a dress and this and that. And you carry a clipboard. You know clipboard? Clipboards? Clipboard. You know what a clipboard is, everyone? Okay? Anyone walking with a clipboard looks like they're authority. You know, they're authority there. And the other thing to do is put a little name badge on. Put your name, a little name badge. It's amazing. You have a clipboard and a badge, and you start asking people whatever questions you ask them. You know, when did you first fall in love? They look at your clipboard and your name, like a policeman. They answer you. So you go to the stores, you talk to the manager, you talk to the salespeople, you talk to the customers. Have a list of things. Bring out something here. Have a list of questions to ask. What do you like about management? What don't you like? What can we do to improve them? And things like that. You can ask them too, the employees. You ask them, How is it working for the company? What's good about this? What's bad about it? They don't tell the company. They'll tell you, carry a clipboard and anything. They'll tell you. You have the ammunition now to go there and find this. How do you find out who to talk to at Management? Very, very simple. You Google the company, you get the company up, and you find out who the salesman, remember, you're not going to human resources. You're not going anywhere except to sales and marketing. You also make your phone calls to these people or try to go in yourself by knocking on the door. Find out when the office opens. If the office opens at 8 o'clock, you be there at 7:30. Why? The gatekeepers aren't there. The secretary to send you away isn't there. Very often the boss is there. If the place closes at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, go 20 minutes later after the gatekeepers are gone, the receptionist is gone. Don't be afraid that if you come in, the office looks closed, there it's 5:30 and there's no one there, just walk in, be nicely dressed. Find out, I'm looking for Herr Mueller, the sales manager. I guarantee you that if you go there with a list of things, you know, they will see. They will see. Remember, if you look to your left and your right, this is your competition. This is your competition to get jobs. Okay? You have to make yourself special. You have to differentiate yourself. You have to learn how to ask good questions there. Okay? I'll tell you a quick story how I chose. We were interviewing some people for administrative assistant. And what happened was, this is the old days before the internet or anything. In those days, you put an ad in the newspaper, the administrative assistant described. I didn't want to deal with answering these things, so we put a post office box where we would get our mail. And it just so turned out I was the one that used to pick up the mail in the morning. And I got there around 10 to 9, and I put my schlüssel in, I opened the box, I'm taking out the mail, and this young girl comes over to me and she says, are you the people that put the ad in the paper? I said, yes. And she said, I want to apply for that job. Who do I see? I said, well, I guess it's me. Come back to my office. I got over 400 replies to the ad, 400 resumes. Do you know who got that job? Because I found out she was there when the post office opened at 6 in the morning. She was waiting there to see what company, because there was no company listed there. She had the initiative to do that. Have initiative. Don't be afraid to do that. The young people today no longer read newspapers. They say they get their information on the internet and everything like that. If you're interested in an industry, there is nothing like reading the newspaper to find out what's going on. You don't get it in the 5-line blurbs on the internet. Okay? It just doesn't happen. When you come there and you want to talk about, you want to be in management, and you can say, well, I see the dairy cows are producing 62% less. You can talk about things. Show that you're worldly. Show that you're well-read. When you get a job, don't be afraid to do grunt work. Grunt work means coffee, go for the coffee, go for the statement, go for the front. Don't be afraid to do that. Use initiative. Okay? Here's a very important thing. A lot of you will be looking for jobs one time. Some of you will have pressures from your parents, and your parents are saying, what are you doing to look for a job? So you sit there at the computer for 8 hours, and you're answering monster.com, you're sending out emails with your resume and your CV. It is a complete waste of time. Jobs do not happen that way. Many good jobs are not even posted. They don't come about that way. The only thing that you achieve there is when your mother says, are you looking for a job? Mom, I've worked all day. I've been sitting at the computer. I emailed 42 resumes out. Waste of time. Completely waste of time. Let everyone know you're looking for a job. Everybody in your circle. Start by starting with 25 names and go after these people to tell them that you're looking for a job there. Neighbors, friends, all this type of thing. Everyone that you ask, you said, who else should I speak to here? One of the things to do, is a very good point, go to your local banks. Remember, in the local bank, every bank has a loan officer. The loan officer's job is to lend money. Most of the companies that they lend money to, remember, not the ones they turn down, the ones they're loaning money to, are the ones that are a growing business. People borrow money to grow their business. You can say to him, look, I'm looking for work now. I really am an industrious hard worker, and I want to focus on growing industries. If you help lead me to some people that you're loaning money to, just keep in mind that in a year or two, if I'm working there, I'm going to remember the favor. And, we'll speak highly of your back. You'll be amazed if you ask how many people will help you with this. Don't forget the famous 4 words to use when you start out. I can use your help. I can use your help here. Okay? Start practicing. Practice with people you're comfortable with. Start your talking. If you get a connection there, never ask for the person to call you back. Never, never, never leave a message. Don't leave a message there, because you never get return phone calls. The other thing, what's interesting is if you go on an interview or one of the things to use besides the internet is an old-fashioned piece of paper by post. Nobody gets mail now. When was the last time any of you got a letter? Nobody gets mail now. Nobody gets faxes now. So number one, write a letter to a company by the old-fashioned post. You can't delete a letter. You can trouble it, you can throw it away. People don't get mail. People love to get mail. They open the envelope, they look at it, it's amazing. And it sits there, it's not next, 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 next. It works, remember that. Always tell them why you're interested in the company, okay? Once you have the connection in this company, let them know to have you come back, to you when something is available. You can develop your own shorthand. I used to do this, left voicemail, call back Tuesday, keep the things going about these things. Good. So instead of telling them, well, I have my graduate degree, I've done this and I've done that, say, how'd you get into this? Here's the interview. It's interesting how that builds up. It's amazing people start telling you about these things. What do you like about it? What don't you like? You become the interviewer. And that is helpful. Ask them, what do you do in a given day? These are good questions to us in a growing field. Ask them what their problems are, what their issues are. A couple of points here too. Be ready to answer some standard questions. These are the questions, I'm listing this, of what people ask you. A question that almost every interviewer asks, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses? It's very good to think about what your weaknesses are, and even if you don't have a weakness, make something up. Say, I'm very shy, but what I've done to overcome this is I've done this, this, and this. Don't just list what your weaknesses are. Show what you've done to correct it. That is a very important thing. Why are you interested in our company? Be ready to answer these questions. This is all going to be in the printout. Very important question to ask at the end. Is there an important question I've overlooked? And then be quiet. Stop talking. Don't worry about it, there's silence. Because that puts the onus on the other person to say to you, well, you should have asked us that you had to work on Saturdays or whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. You can ask who else should I speak to? And say, if I call you again here, make sure you get their Geschäfte card there. Send them a note by mail. Don't send an email. Okay? Here's some tips and tricks. Again, I'm going to call people early in the day. Here's a very good idea. Everyone has caller ID now. Okay? Very often, if you're trying to reach the marketing manager of management, if he sees a caller ID and it's your mobile phone number, very often they won't even pick up the call. Here's a trick for it. You all know Skype. Everyone should put €5 or €10 in Skype and use that if you're going to make a call. Because what comes up on Skype at another person's end, when you make a phone call via Skype with dialing their number, is it comes up as an international number. And every time it's a different, so it looks like they're getting an international call. Everyone takes an international call. Try that, it works, okay? Again, visit the companies after 5 o'clock. Here's another great idea, make a money back offer. You go to the guy, you bring your 25 ideas to management, you say to him, look, I've gone through everything with you, okay? If you hire me, I'm gonna give you a 30-day guarantee. I will work here, don't pay me for 30 days. I will show you that I'm worth 100, I'm going to give you 125% of my abilities and more. Anytime during these 30 days you don't think that I'm good for you, say, I'll be the same, I walk out the door, you don't have to pay me a penny. However, if you decide to hire me, you have to pay me from day one. Now, the actuality of it, that's probably not legal. Not legal. Doesn't matter. Because most companies will never take that offer because it's not really legal. But what does that say about yourself? I want to hear an answer here. What does that tell when you give a money back guarantee like that? What does that say about you? Huh? Confidence. Okay, you believe in yourself. That's the kind of person they want to hire. Okay? Think about that. There's no risk. Because the real thing is, let's say that you work there for 10 days and they say, I'll be the same, you wouldn't want to work for that company anyway. And that's most likely your fault anyway. Okay? Never give up. Okay? Everything yields to effort. Don't beat yourself up there. Use your energy wisely here. Always ask other people there if they know of companies that could use your talents. It's amazing how many times you go for an interview and they say, well, we don't really need the executive vice president of the sales for management now. But you know, my cousin, who has a jelly bean factory, is looking for something. It's amazing how many times that happens there. Now, networking. How do you do networking there? Is this. Very often people your age say to me, look, you have a great network, you've been around for 45 years in the business, you have thousands of people all over the world, that's your network and everything like that. Malarkey. You guys have the best network in the world, and it's called, begins with an F. What? Facebook. How many people only have 5 friends on Facebook? I asked this question, and I actually got someone that told me they have 3,682 friends. Okay. Every one of you, most of you are on Facebook. That's your network. Let me tell you where it's your network. It's this. Your friends that are in your network have parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, friends of their own. That's your network. You let them know that you're looking for this kind of a job and you want their help. Use those words. I want your help, and therefore I want you to go to the people, your uncles, your aunts, your grandparents, whatever it is, and send my resume. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to get an interview with someone. And all of a sudden, you don't have 250 friends. You have 1,000. That's your network. That's what's doing that. These are questions I'm not going to, because I want to leave open a little time for questions here. These are all in the printouts that you can get. Here are good questions for you to ask when you want an interview. These are great questions to ask. Don't mind stealing them. I think that's it. So I'm going to, 5:30, they said the else. So now, here's another thing. Here's a very important thing to remember. And I'm going to tell you this story because it's very hard to believe. I was interviewing a young lady recently for a position. She came in, she had a really great CV resume. And we were talking, I was asking her a question. And in the middle of my asking her this question, her pocketbook starts to vibrate. And you can't make up stories like this. And she says, excuse me. She reaches into her pocketbook. It's an interview. She takes out her Apple iPhone. And she's looking, and then she's going, and she looks up at me and says, I'm listening. Now, that's rude. The young people today have this feeling of instant gratification. You must answer the thing. You must answer this thing. I saw 4 people in here during my talk texting. Okay? That's wrong. That's rude. That's wrong to do. And the people that you go to don't accept and don't understand that the fact that you're getting a text from your boyfriend or girlfriend, I'm in Starbucks having a coffee with 2 sugars, and you say, great, you know, bring me home a coffee or something. It doesn't go. It doesn't go. I walk into companies and the person has their cell phone over here like this, and they're typing. They're not watching the screen, they're watching when the next IM comes in. Leave your cell phones in the off position. Remember, and very important, whoever you're going to work for, let that employer know that you will not be IMing, you will not be texting, you're going to be focusing on your work. When I talk to my contemporaries around, I ask them, what's the biggest problem you face now, personnel-wise? It says, trying to get people to stop using their cell phones when they're supposed to be focusing. So it's an important thing to do. Okay, I'm not beating you up on that, but I'm just telling you. And that story, I can't make this up. It was unbelievable. By the way, she did not get the job. So I'll take questions now, and if anybody has some thoughts of what to do or where they want to go, or
once you can't find a job, I have to say I found 2 jobs on that, like not these great ones, but in our time, like, it's really not possible to get everything from networking, and then you know, Facebook.
I'm not saying, let me correct, I'm not saying don't use MyStore, don't use the internet like that, but the reality of it is, when you're doing that, there are 500 other people that are clicking on the same thing.
Yeah.
And what I have found is that sometimes the good positions, and what's very good, you can create a position for yourself. If you want to work for Monash, they might not have a position of sales engineer there or something like that. But boy, if you go to them with ideas and things and say, I'd like you to create a job, that's worth 10 monster things to go after. It's better to put the effort into that. What I'm saying is the monster things and the internet job offerings and things like that takes up a lot of your time that can be invested in a better way. Don't not do it. Because, but you said a very key thing there. You said the jobs, you got 2 jobs, but they weren't great. So what we want to do is remember that my talk is how to get a good job. You want to get something that's good. And they're out there. 95% of Austria is working. If any of you have any, I'll be happy to give you my Geschäfte card. If you want to email me at any time, if you think of some things and you want to have some questions asked, I'm happy to do that. I can sometimes talk with you on Skype. I can, you know, I do this. I'm happy to help young people get started. And if any of you have any product ideas or new thoughts to develop, I can give you some feedback on it. And if it's something that might be good, then you could become a millionaire. Thank you very much.